Boating 52, how are you folks? Today we're going to talk about motorcycles. How Abe Lincoln may have just saved my butt. We're going to talk about what I just put on the Road Glide Limited, when you really need to get them, things to consider, and then we're going to start burning off some of this new rubber. No wheelies, I promise. So recently, I have had to put new tires on my 2021 Road Glide Limited. Just about 10,000 miles. And that didn't really feel real good because I didn't think I got enough time out of them. But knowing I did need to replace them, it made me think about talking to you all. And from just an ordinary non-tire expert, I want to kind of go over when is the right time to buy new tires. What factors would you potentially consider in choosing a new tire? And then I'll tell you about what I put on Dutches. And would love your feedback because I know tires are like bars and seats. Everybody has their favorite. And would, of course, love your feedback on this. But let's start with talking about when is the right time to replace them. So if you'll talk to the Harley-Davidson dealership, they will tell you the time to replace them is at 2:30 seconds. And if you're at 3:30 seconds, you are kind of getting close. Now, whether that's because they're just trying to sell you tires, or that is probably industry standard, I think that's it. And it kind of makes sense to me when I looked at what the tire depth on mine were. A couple things is how I decided I needed new tires. And let me start by telling you my mistake. Just recently went on a 1,000-mile trip. I knew I had 10,000 miles on the tires, and I thought it was getting time to replace them. And I did not replace them before I left. Because I thought, I'll put another 1,000 or so on them, and it'll be great. And while the bike was fine and would have been fine, there's no doubt in certain situations I rode cautiously thinking about the tires. So to me, that is one reason to switch out your tires. But I guess there's the old Abe Lincoln trick. You stick a penny in the tire tread upside down, and if you can see Abe's full face, then on top of the head, then you need to replace them, because if you look at a penny, the top of his hair to the edge of the penny is 2:30 seconds. So that is a measurement that makes it nice and easy if you're just wondering, is it close or not? Then, of course, there is a tool they use, a depth gauge, I think they call it, that is extremely accurate. I did see that on my tires, which kind of confirmed what I thought. And there are times that you can see some flat spots in them. I could see that on my rear tire where the center kind of really looked flat. They didn't look like you look at them and go, oh no, I shouldn't ride this again until I get new tires. But I did start to see a lot of that where that was a little concerning. I think you can also inspect the tires all over just to see if you see any abnormal wear, whether it's on the side of the tires, on the edges of the tires or not. You folks that are burning it up on the corners, I'm sure your edges are a little more wore down than mine are. But you can physically look at your tires and also say, hey, do these look right? Are there any cracks in them, any chunks in them, anything that just looks a little bit odd that you may need to replace them? You really want to look a little bit further, because it's not like that vehicle has 4 tires. We just have 2, and I don't want to throw away money before I need to, but also I cherish my safety, and on a motorcycle, our tires are critically important. And last but not least, on things to look for is, and it happened with my Road King Classic, while the tire depth and everything looked fine when I bought it, the tires were old. And I think it varies per tire, but 3 to 5 years you should replace the tires, even if the tire depth is still good. So factors to consider when you are looking for tires. To me, it is riding style. What is your style of riding? Are you a mid-level cruiser like me that is probably not going to be tearing up the curves, that is more touring type? It matters. If you have, obviously, a sport bike or a different type of riding style than then you may want to consider a different type of tire. And I am not here to promote any type of tire because I am far from a tire expert. But your riding style does make a difference in what type of tire that you buy. The other thing to me is, how long are the tires going to last? I found myself, when I put tires on my cars or my truck, which has 50,000 miles on the tires, I'm always like, okay, so how much are they, and how much tire time am I going to get in mileage? And they say that the original Dunlops on the Harley factory motorcycles, at least on this touring model, are usually getting between 10 and 12,000 miles. And that they're not great. They're not junk, but they're not great. So for me, 10,000 miles, and when I had the bike in for some service, I had 330 seconds on my tires. So could I have taken the bike out of there and went another couple thousand miles? Absolutely, I think I could have. The bike was already there. The dealership's an hour from me. I knew I was going to have to take it back before the end of the season anyway, so I said, just let's go ahead and flop those things out. And the new tires, they are seeing where they're getting 15,000 miles on average on those tires. So the dealership, at least my dealership, really was not for putting on the original Dunlops again. And at 10,000 miles, or 10 to 12, which I would have gotten, I understand why. I think the other thing is price matters. Right now, I'm one of those guys that will pay for quality. I'm one of those guys that will pay a little bit more sometimes if it's going to last longer. But I'm also not going to spend needless money, so price matters. As I was looking to buy these, I was talking with a bunch of my riding buddies, and they were just kind of talking about pricing that they were getting for tires and what type they were. And I ended up putting American Elites on this bike, and they ran about, well, installed, they ran me $700. Now, I believe the tires are probably $600, and I'm sure I got charged $100 to put them on, balance them and all that fun stuff that they do. And I'm sure if I was a little more mechanically inclined, I could have took them off and took them to Cycle Gear and bought tires there and had them put back on. But that's really not my skill set, so I felt more comfortable that the dealer had them on and put them on, and $700 seemed reasonable to me, because for some reason I was thinking $1,000. I think the other thing that you got to look at, for me, a non-tire expert, I'm kind of like, what do I get? You know, you hear, and you can look, whether it's at forums or you look on any Harley website, and you'll hear people talking about, oh, these are the best tires, or these are the best tires, or these are the best tires. I honestly didn't know, so I did, of course, some research, and I do trust my dealership. I know many of you are not fans of Harley dealerships, and I have some that I'm really not fans of, but mine I love and trust. And they definitely said that they're putting American Elites on everything, and that I should expect 15,000 miles on them. But in addition to that, I really asked my buddies, what do you got on your bike? What have you had? What works for you? What hasn't worked for you? And get some ideas from people that have actually had them on their bike and that you actually trust. I would love to hear your feedback. What have you put on your motorcycle? What type of motorcycle do you have? What's your experience been? $700, way too much? I'd like to know what you got, what you put on. Let's make sure we're sharing with each other so we all make some good decisions when it comes to the hobby we love, motorcycles. Be safe out there, folks.